My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And as usual, we have a very important topic today. I'm going to answer two questions, and I'm going to do it relatively simultaneously. So the first big question is, does adversity, hard times, and struggle make you stronger? And question number two, does believing that adversity makes you stronger actually help you? Now, on this subject, Frederick Nietzsche, who is one of my favorites, he's probably the greatest philosopher who ever lived. He said, "That which does not kill me makes me stronger." And he wrote this, I believe, in 1888 in the book Twilight of the Idols. Now, full disclosure, I've lived most of my life with this thought that if it doesn't kill me, it makes me stronger. So this goes to answering the question, does believing adversity makes you stronger actually help you? So in this sense, I believe it does. I believed it my whole life. Once you believe that adversity makes you stronger, you welcome adversity. You don't run away from it. You enjoy it. Sometimes I've enjoyed it too much. I've gone to, when I was in graduate school, to give you an example, there was two classes, there's about 50 students in each class. And I was noticing that it was dwindling down because people were either failing out or just dropping out. And I know it sounds terrible, but I actually didn't mind that. I enjoyed that because I didn't want all 100 to pass, because then it seems like there were no gatekeepers in this profession, in the therapy profession. I wanted it to be difficult. As time went on, I think we had a graduating class of only like 8 or 9. And even with that 8 or 9, when we went into our first internship, I noticed that some of them were getting A's. And I'm like, how can I get an A and they get an A? And my work, I thought, was a lot better, and I put a lot more time and effort into it. So I really don't like when people just get grades for the heck of getting grades. I don't like that. So I wanted it to be harder, so more and more people dropped out. And in the first area that I went into, in the first internship, there was about 6 or 7 people overall that were in the same organization. And what I actually enjoyed was that by the time a few months went by, between them getting thrown out or just quitting, I was the only one left. Now, I enjoyed that because it was a tough situation, and I wanted to know that I could rise to the top in a difficult situation. And so I've done this, whether it be in academics or sports or anything that you can name. So I actually enjoy that. In some of my bodybuilding routines, way back when they were like 90 seconds long, I would always leave about 30 seconds of blank time for me to do whatever I wanted. And the reason for that is because most of the musicians that I really, really like the most are ones who can freeform on the fly. And I really felt that being able to act and to work under pressure is something that I really looked up to, and I wanted to be that person. So I always looked up to that type of adversity. And this type of adversity too, you can see. It's so obvious to think that believing, adversity is a good thing. For example, like when I hit a heavy bag, I don't use any wraps, I don't use any gloves because I want my hands to get stronger. Now, the first couple of times you do this, your hands bleed. And now I can hit it all day long, no problems, they're scarred over, I never bleed, it's perfect. And on the other side of my hands, from lifting weights my whole life, they're calloused. Now that's no achievement. Everyone who works out will tell you the same thing, that their hands get calloused. But it's an obvious visual that facing some type of adversity does make you stronger. Plus, you can only judge what you see. When we look at, let's say, famous people, no matter what profession it is, we can look into their backgrounds and you could see, wow, they had a really difficult time and they overcame a lot. But here's the problem. Being that you can only judge what you can see, you can't judge what you can't see. So if you see one person make it, you're not seeing the thousands or the maybe possibly the millions that didn't make it. And so it really is the question here, does adversity make you actually stronger? And as I've looked into this more and more and tried to be honest with myself as I got older, because there's a heavy penalty to pay when you fight through adversity your whole life to go from, let's say, in a hole to somewhat up the mountain. Take a look at somebody like Michael Jackson. Everybody says, oh, he was so successful, he was so great, world famous, all the money in the world. But did he look like a happy person to you? And I could say this about a lot of people who make it big, who came from very adverse situations when they were young. They may have made it. They may have put everything into what they had to do to make it. But did the adversity actually make them stronger? I mean, at some point, maybe they got successful because they were able to fight through all of their tough times. But in the end, what kind of person were they? And I noticed that with myself too. Like, at some points in my life, I've become a workaholic, or I've left people around me wanting more of me because I've been emotionally distant because I've been working so much all the time. So are you winning or not? I think that's a hard question. So we have to really take a look at this with a little bit more depth. When Nietzsche said, "That which does not kill me makes me stronger," I believe he was trying to be inspirational. I believe he was being aspirational. People should aspire to that. And so I agree with that 100%. I don't think he was trying to be scientific, and I don't think he was following any type of empirical evidence. So I would like to change it a little bit, because the actual truth is that which does not kill you has the potential to make you stronger. And if you were going to add to that, you would say, but most of the time it does not. And that's the real truth of the matter. So we have to face it as it truly is. The other part of adversity that I've just relatively recently come to terms with is that I don't think adversity has helped me at all. I don't think it's made me stronger at all. A lot of my adversity came from, let's say, being from a poor family, being treated poorly by certain people, my parents being treated poorly by certain people. And I'm not going to give any of those people any credit because they don't deserve any. Anyone who treats somebody poorly in any which way doesn't deserve credit. I've had difficulty sometimes with jobs where somebody would get jealous and fire me, because I had too many training clients than them. I'm not going to give any credit to people that are so jealous that they had to try to get rid of me so I wouldn't ever take any of their money or popularity or attention. No. Here's the real truth about it. Adversity didn't make me stronger. Getting stronger was a choice that I made. So I take the credit for it. Now, not to sound self-centered, but I'm doing a show for other people. And I would say that for everybody else out there, is that growing from your adversity is your choice that you have to make. And you're the only one who can make it. And you are the one that has to get you stronger. Preferably, you could have tried to get stronger without being hurt by somebody, without being emotionally abused, physically abused, or whatever that might be. But if that happened, let's not give them credit to say that adversity is what helped you. Screw them. It's on us, and we take the credit for doing well. So let's look at some inconvenient truths and some facts about what it's like to come from an adverse environment. So from the Opportunity Atlas, we have this. So there is a number that you can look at that will reliably predict if a 7-year-old is going to be a success later on in life. That sounds a little outrageous, right? But the evidence bears this out, and it's true. So the number one predictor of future health, your future income level, and life expectancy is your zip code. Think about that. For all the people that work hard, they do this, and they aspire to be more, and you heard, yeah, it's the American dream. Most of the time it's like what George Carlin said, it's the American dream because you have to be asleep and dreaming to believe it, because it's not really true. It really comes down on you. You're going to have to work really hard, like really hard. Let's look at the World Economic Forum report. Here they say that it takes an average of 5 generations to get to the middle class if you start from a lower middle class or a lower socioeconomic family. Think about this. So if you're born into an environment that's relatively poor or very poor, it takes 5 generations on average in the United States to move up to not rich, middle class. Think about that. So if I'm thinking for myself, and you can go along with me, my father, my grandfather, I don't know my great-grandfather. So I can only go 2 generations back. They're saying it takes 5 generations of adversity to go through. In what scenario could you say that coming from a low socioeconomic background is advantageous then? Well, because it's not. That's why. The other thing I could look at is that I got my Bachelor of Science degree. I went to graduate school, and obviously I got my degree there, and then I had another degree. So technically you could say I have 3 college degrees. And I live a middle-class lifestyle, and I do well. I have a business, I have a skill. But I don't even know if I did better than my father back in 1970 when you really put it, because my father pumped gas for a minimum wage. And at that time, in 1970, he had 2 kids, he had a wife, he had a house, and he had a Cadillac. Now, that's living pretty well on minimum wage compared to now. So again, as times change, it's like, are you doing better than your parents? Like, that's a good question. Like, most of the time, maybe you're not. Let's look at number 3 on my list here. So we're looking at here the National Center for Education Statistics. If you take kindergartners, right, on the longitudinal study throughout their life, if you take a child at the bottom 25% of the socioeconomic status, in other words, they come from a relatively poor family, but yet they test out academically at the top 25%, meaning they're very intelligent. So again, real quick, very intelligent, but come from a poor family. Let's compare that to a person or a child that is at the top of the socioeconomic status, meaning they come from a relatively rich family, and they test at the bottom 25%. Not trying to use a politically incorrect term here, but they're relatively stupid, or okay, they're relatively unintelligent. So again, rich family, but the child is not smart. This is what the numbers bear out. So if you're smart and you come from a poor family, you have a 31% chance of earning a college degree and making $35,000 by the time you're 25 and $45,000 by the time you're 35. Okay? 31% go through college, and then you have the financial part. If you're not very smart, but you come from a rich family, you have a 71% chance of making it through college and hitting the same financial numbers as I just stated. So if you have no intelligence, but you come from a rich family, you're more than twice as likely to get through college and make as much or more money. Actually, twice as much chance of making more money. Think about that in terms of answering the question, does adversity make you stronger? No, by percentage. So it's the potential to make you stronger, but you have to fight to death every day to make it, because these numbers don't bear it out. It doesn't look well for a person coming from an adverse background. Let's continue. Here's just a story, a news story that I got that I think is interesting. I think the kid was 16 years old. 16 years old, he's white, he's male, and the most important part of the story, he comes from a rich family. Now, there was a party at his house with his parents there. At this party, he raped 4 girls. Yes, raped 4 girls. In a court of law, he admitted to raping these 4 girls. You know what his penalty was? No jail time. I don't have to say much about this, do I? Like, does anybody out there believe that if a child from a poor, or a teenager from a poor family, we could even throw in if he's a minority, but let's throw that out for a second. Let's just say he comes from a poor family. and he goes and rapes 4 girls. Do you think he's going to have no jail time? That's impossible to even conceive or to believe. There's just no way. So again, the more money you have definitely creates a much better chance of being successful in this country and getting away with a lot of stuff. You know, going back to talking about coming from a rich family but not having a lot of intelligence, let me add this as a personal aside. You know, I come from Las Vegas. Well, I live in Las Vegas now. I've been around a ton of trust fund babies. There's casinos all up and down that strip. And there's all somebody who is related to somebody who has gotten millions and millions of dollars in the bank account by the time they were like 5 years old. And I've been around a lot of these people. And I can tell you, half the time they're a bunch of little frat boys. You know, they're not very emotionally intelligent. They're not very smart. And yet they have millions of dollars. And no matter how hard somebody works at the lower area, it's very, very hard to get up to that area. All they have to do is make a phone call and they can get meetings that a middle-class person would never get, not in a million years. And they all think that they're all this and all that. But the truth is that most of what they got is from where they started. It's easy to hit a home run when you're born on third base. So let's continue. Speaking with that, you know, a lot of these people too, let me add this. You know, they'll look down on people that were either born into a low socioeconomic situation or look down on people that have, let's say, more issues like physical abuse, psychological abuse in their families, things like this. You know, come from a background where there might be, you know, an alcoholic in their family. They'll look down on them and they'll say, listen, if you want to get what I have, meanwhile, half the stuff was given to them, but they'll say, if you want to have what I have, you need to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. So I think maybe some of us remember Maria Antoinette, right? When the people started to revolt because they needed food. They needed healthy sustenance. And she said, let them eat cake. The point that she was making is, let them eat garbage. Like, I don't care. Send them this nothing stuff. Don't send them real food. You know, so it wasn't like she was saying, let them eat good, you know, tasting sweet stuff. She was basically giving an FU to the people. So let me tell you about this picking yourself up by your bootstraps, because for some reason, a lot of people forgot what this meant. You know, they say it all the time. You know, you want to be a better person. Oh, you're a little poor person. Oh, you went through all this trouble. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Okay, let's picture it. Stand tall. And if you're listening to this and you're in a room, try it with me. Stand up. Where are your bootstraps? Reach for the bootstraps. I'll give you the visual. It's not a boot, it's a shoe. It's my shoe. But here's your strap. Stand up tall, reach down to the strap on both feet, and pick yourself up by it. Can you do it? No, it's physically impossible. Basically what they're saying is, F you. We're not going to help you and we don't care. Now let me take it a step further. If you're standing up and you bend over and you pull on your ankles, you are once again in a perfect position for rich people to screw you. And that's what it's meant for. It's not meant to be inspirational or aspirational. It's meant to give you an FU, to say we don't care. That's what it's for. Let's continue. Talking about an adverse childhood experiences, what are they correlated to? Are adverse childhood experiences correlated to success and wealth? Think about it. When you look at a little baby, you say, oh, I know. I'm not going to give this baby any love, any attention. I'm not even going to touch it. I'm not going to hold it. We're going to starve this baby. We're going to put it in a dangerous situation. We're going to put this baby in a neglectful situation. We're not going to allow this baby to have access to reading materials in a safe area or the best schools. Does that sound to you like that would be a best starting point in order to be successful? So again, like Nietzsche was trying to say, if it doesn't kill me, it makes you stronger. Does it? No, there's no science that backs that up, and no logical evidence would ever tell you that that's true. So let's go with adverse childhood experiences. They are correlated to increased physical problems, correlated to emotional issues, correlated to anger, anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, learned helplessness, victim mentality, trust issues. More correlated to having addictions of all kinds. Correlated to relationship problems, financial issues, and shorter life expectancy. That's the truth. So what do we do? What happens if you are in an adverse environment? What happens if you are born into a low socioeconomic family? What happens if you are sexually abused, physically abused, psychologically abused, neglected? Any of these things? Do you give up? No. And this is the other part. Does believing adversity makes you stronger actually help you? Big capital letters in neon lights blinking. The answer is yes. You have to believe so because you have no choice. The odds are stacked against you. So you have to be able to be okay. You have to be able to swim in this. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to enjoy it. I have beaten many people in bodybuilding contests that I have no business beating because they had more resources. They had more everything. They had better genetics. But what I had was the will to win, and I can handle more pain than they can. I can diet harder and I can train harder than them. Why? Because I was used to adversity growing up and I learned to love adversity. I want things to be difficult. I expect things to get difficult. I don't feel bad when things get difficult because it's just my expectation. And I feel better for having gone through it because I feel like, well, if there's a problem, give it to me. I'm going to take care of this. So I know in my other adversity show, I said the number one thing you need to do to fight through adversity is to have a goal. And the goal needs to be so big that all the adversity, all the struggles are nothing compared to not reaching that goal. You want to reach that goal more than anything else in this world. Everything else doesn't matter. That's true. But let me continue with that for this show. So again, number one is to make the goal. Number two, you want to be able to derive your self-esteem from your ability to work hard and to not give up. And especially to work hard and not give up where everybody else around you is going to fail. Especially the trust fund babies, because they do and they will. Number three, be willing to scratch, to claw, to fight for everything in your life that you want to achieve. For every dollar, for every morsel of food, for every time you try to get a raise, everything. Be willing to fight for all of it and be happy about it. And base your self-esteem off of your ability to do that. Very important. Number four, you want to have a religious dedication in the same direction for as long as it takes to get to your goal. And that's actually from Nietzsche, again, my favorite philosopher, and I'm going to take that one, and I've taken that to heart for a very long time. But he's right about that, is that you got to keep pushing in the same direction. Don't let anybody tell you no, including yourself. Because if you come from a tough background, you don't feel good about yourself a lot of times. You're going to have low self-esteem. You're going to doubt yourself. But don't. Because you look around and go, well, why did this person make it? Why is this person famous? Why did this person get a raise? You know, there's a lot of reasons for that. But when you're starting at a lower position, it makes it much, much harder for you. So know that. So it's not where you are, it's where you're going. And a lot of these people start here and they end up there. Whereas if you're starting here and you go all the way up here, you're much more successful. Number five, very important. It's not your fault that you were born into an adverse environment. It's not your fault that somebody may have abused you in some way. Again, sexually, psychologically, physically, maybe just being neglectful, not caring about you as much as you needed. They didn't give the love that you needed. That's not your fault at all. But it is absolutely and completely 100% your responsibility to pick yourself up, not by your bootstraps, because we know that that doesn't work, but you need to pick yourself up off the ground and fight hard. It's your responsibility to make your life better, because probably there's not going to be anybody else out there that's going to do this for you. You have to do it for yourself. Nobody's coming to help you, and you can't complain about life. It's the cards that you were dealt, and you have to deal with it as it is. So with that, let me encompass all of this. Question number one, does adversity and hard times make you stronger? Only if you want it to be. Only if you choose. Only if you say, I'm not going to be treated like this. I am not going to allow this world to push me down. I only have one life to live, and I'm going to make the most of it. I'm not going to allow other people to define my worth and who I am. So, no. Adversity and hard times don't make you stronger. You do. You face it. Look at it. Name it. Name your difficulties. Name your adversities. And knock them down one by one. That's on you. Question number two, does believing adversity makes you stronger actually help you? And in most of my life, I would say it did. I looked forward to it, and I was just like, here's just another little hurdle that I have to jump. So I think believing in it is not a bad thing. We all have to have some level of hope, and I think that's true. It's been true for me. But again, you take the credit for it. Don't let the adversity take the credit for it. That's on you. My name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Hopefully some of this was helpful to you. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.